All right, guys, it's evening, like 6 o'clock here, and it is still like 94 degrees outside. It was like 100 degrees today, and I am hot and sweaty, and my air conditioning went out. But I think I have something that might help. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. Sweaty, dripping mess. I know a lot of you people are probably going to get turned on by that, but hold your horses. It has been so hot, in fact, in my house, that today I took this shirt and I ran it underwater and then I just put it back on. It feels nasty because it clings to your body, but dude, it was the first time I felt even reasonably cool today. But I am trying to go to sleep, obviously pretty soon, and the house is unbearable. The air conditioning went out. I don't know what's going on with it. But when I called the HVAC company, they don't actually have any openings until next Friday, which is a week away. And that's because everyone's having HVAC problems because every air conditioner is apparently running at full speed. So I have back here something that I bought a long time ago and I've never used. And it's one of these portable air conditioners. And I actually was planning on using it out here when I'm out in the garage and it's hot and I'm working on the car because the garage kind of gets warm anyway, and just thought, wow, it'll make it like a workshop in the summer and it'll be nice and cool. But I never ended up using it because I never ended up really working out here that much. So I'm going to take it inside and see if I can use it to cool down the house just a little bit at least. So got to get it out of the corner there and then take it in, and then we'll try it out. All right, I got the whole thing set up here, and I want to walk you through what I learned. First of all, when I bought this, I meant to use it right away and unboxed it and apparently lost the instructions. So I just figured it out, but because I'm so smart, I figured it out. Anyway, I had to do a little improvising here. This is really supposed to be used in a regular window. It's instead of putting in like a window air conditioner, it's a replacement for that. And so you get this panel, this expandable plastic panel has an opening there that this tube snaps into, but since I don't have a regular window here in this ranch house, which is actually really lucky for me because everything's generally on one floor, that this is actually working pretty well. But before I get to that, because this thing is meant for a window and kind of the base of the window, and then you close the window on it, using it in the sliding door here, which is my best option, meant that I have this gap up here. So I cut up this little foam plate pad and just taped it in there. It seems to be pulling away. You'd think that packaging tape would hold that sucker in place, but it's been working fine. And then obviously this piece snaps in there. Now, a couple things that I noticed here is we have a couple of outlets, one here in the middle and one here at the bottom. It also came with these two hoses. This one is like a soft silicone hose. This one is like a harder plastic. I'm not sure which is supposed to go on which. I switched them. They seem to fit. This one goes around the opening though. This one goes in the opening. Neither of them fit super securely. You just have to muscle them in. But I've got it set up like this for a reason, because this one is a little more rigid. I just found it doesn't want to bend, and so I've got it going out the door there. I actually have not seen anything come out of this yet, but that doesn't mean stuff hasn't, and I just haven't seen it, particularly water. This one is definitely venting water. When this thing gets going, the water actually comes out of here pretty quickly, and that's, I think, dehumidifying, drying the air, which is absolutely great. And in fact, you can see it's pretty long. I've got it outside here, and I had water going all the way to the end of the deck. I actually jerry-rigged a little bit, a little spacer here to hold this up and then keep the bugs out there. So I don't know if I did this right, but I think there's actually a reservoir that you can take out and empty, but I didn't poke around with that. But it seems to work. Let me tell you, one of the drawbacks to this, though, is that I was running this thing, and I've been running it for 24 hours here, and oh, you can see it right here. There's a little bit of water. I'm actually not sure what that's coming from. It's not a ton of water, and my assumption is that just might be some condensation or something as this thing cools, catching on the inside, dripping down some water, not a big deal. I grabbed a little towel there. It's not a big puddle. Even after running this thing for about 24 hours, there was like a saucer-sized puddle right there. So I don't know if I screwed up something or something is blocked, but just kind of keep an eye out for the water. Again, as you can see there, that is not a lot of water, so I'm not overly concerned about it. Okay, the other thing is we have this expandable hose here. It's kind of like a big dryer hose, but it's actually bigger. I think this is 6 inches in diameter. I was actually thinking of putting this next to my dryer, taking the dryer hose off and then putting this on, but this end of it is actually oblong. It's like a pill or a drug shape, so I could probably get this out of there and put it on on there, but my dryer hose is like 4 inches. It's a pretty big difference here. So got it hooked up here. This was a little bit harder to put on. I actually thought it twisted on. It just drops in. There's a little lip right there, so you put the bottom into the lip, and then there's a little hook right there, and it's tight. So I had to push it down and then just bang on it to get that hook to fit in there, and now it fits. Okay, the other thing I want to mention is that when this thing gets going, obviously water comes out of here. I'm just going to compress that back in. It always terrifies me that this thing has popped out and then I'm just going to find all that water down here, but so far it hasn't happened. But this hose, dude, it gets hot. It is venting some hot freaking air out of there, just like the hot air I spew, but even hotter. It's never that hot. But when I touched this, I was like, whoa, that is hot. It's like dryer air hot. So this thing is really pushing out a lot of hot air. This is a grounded outlet here. It actually has a GFI or something on it. And so you can see it plugs in there, and it has that grounded prong there. So you have to plug that in. It's not a very long cord. I call it 6, maybe 7 feet. So depending on where you're going to put this, you may need an extension cable. Okay, let's get here to the front. There was some tape, obviously a little residue. I kind of banged it up a little bit. It says Della right there. Yeah, Della knows what to wear in Delaware. But I thought this is dead nuts simple. There actually might even be a remote to this that I potentially lost, but doesn't really matter. I don't think you really need it. But this little door here seems to be automatic, and you can see the controls here: low, mid, high, cool, dry, fan, and heat. So I think it'll reverse the air. It has a little thermostat and a nice digital readout there. I'm telling you this without turning on because it gets pretty loud. Then you can control the temp or the timer or sleep, and then the power right there. So I'm just going to power this on, and I'm going to tell you what ends up happening. You can see that when I started this, I told you it was 90s in my house. It was like 90 degrees. And when I turned this on here, it said something like 89 degrees. Now I've been running this for 24 hours, and it has gotten this room, I know it's probably going to be really loud and obnoxious, down to 75, which is crazy to me. Now, if I told you that I went to that room and there's only that small doorway that empties out into that room is hotter. So I was thinking of getting one of my pedestal fans and trying to blow the cold air that way, because it's actually working really well in this room, which is not small. This is a big room. All right. Way bigger than this is advertised for. Now, one of the things that I've noticed here is that there's no oscillating, so I don't know. I noticed that I can adjust this a little bit, like moving it around. I don't want to do that because it's obviously very resistive, and I think it might be on a motor. I don't want to do anything like that, but you can blow it a little more vertically or out a little bit, right? Now, the other thing I've noticed here is I turned it on, and it was blowing pretty cold. I just turned it off, so it's blowing very cold. It's really working here. But when I turned it on for the first time, it was blowing lukewarm, cold, not on the warm side, but on the cold side of cold, but not really cold. And then after about maybe a minute, something clicked in it, and it went ding, and then it really turned on. So the compressor got the coils down to the temperature or something, I don't know. But then, man, it started really blowing cold and was really nice, and that's when you started getting the really hot temp here. This is actually already warming up. So this thing is already on the cooling cycle, and this thing is getting warm. Not super hot, burning me or anything. No water coming out of there, but I expect it to pretty soon, especially if we're really humid in here. But I think it's already gotten a lot of that moisture out of the air. You can see it says 77, obviously. Since I turned it off, around here the air mixed around and got a little higher, but now it's on there. But I want to show you here, I can go here to mid and high, and now this thing really starts to cook. If I am standing over here, it's blowing this direction. If I get here, you can probably hear it. That is blowing pretty hard. It can mess up your nice hair or something. Blow that toupee off. Throw it at least 4 or 5 feet away. But this has got pretty good throw to it. If this were in a bedroom, dude, it would be overkill. In my mind, a standard sized bedroom, this thing would cool it off to a temperature that would probably be painful. I'm actually thinking of using this in my office, which tends to be a few degrees warmer than the rest of the house all the time. And so in the summer, having that in here, and this will be awesome. Even on the low speed there, it would be more than enough. And with the little thermostat controlling it, man, that would be awesome. If this were in the garage, like I was originally planning on using it, I think it would have to work pretty hard, especially in hot days, to cool off the garage. But no doubt in my mind, it would probably take a 90-degree garage and make it an enjoyable 80 degrees. 80 is way more enjoyable than a 90 degree. But so far, this thing is pretty amazing. For a couple $100 you can have something like this. It's essentially like a window air conditioner. I think it's a little more versatile because you don't actually have to throw it in the window. But man, this thing does work a treat. If you don't have central AC, I would put one of these things in everyone's room. I don't know that it's any different functionally from a window AC, but this gives you some options on routing it. It obviously takes up some floor space, but no more than, say, your standard garbage can. So, do I like it? Yes. Am I super happy that I have it? You bet I am, because right now it's 100 degrees outside and it's 77 inside, and that makes a big difference while I'm waiting to get my AC repaired. So if you want to pick up one of these Della standalone air conditioners, I'll put a link to this guy in the description below, and hopefully it will keep you cool like the Fonz. Peter Von Panda, out.